What is a peach? A creative encounter. I once knew a young man who was about to be on the verge of getting married. And so just before this happened, his friends decided that they were going to take him out on a safari. And not just any safari. He was going to go out and shoot a wild animal, which would then be mounted above in his living room as a reminder of his carefree days. So they went out hunting, as they did, and unfortunately for this young man, he was a terrible shot. Every shot he fired zinged into the bushes, flew into the air, and disappeared into the dirt. Towards the end of that week-long hunting escapade, he had run out of bullets, and he sat there with his friends eating a peach in frustration. His friends laughed at him and said, "It's all right, at least someone caught you." And so suddenly, from the bush, there came this noise. And this creature walked out. It was a wildebeest, a young, strong buck that seemed to have found its way to be by itself, not more than a couple 100 yards away. Immediately, the young man stood up, took out his gun, aimed, clicked, and it was empty. His friends thought it was another opportunity to laugh about his impotence. Oh, he was so angry that all of a sudden he clicked the gun open, stuffed the peach pit into the gun, locked it, fired the peach pit, and amazingly, the gun fired. The peach pit flew across and struck the wildebeest into the horn. It had cracked the horn and the peach had embedded into the skull of the beast. But the beast was not dead. If anything, it was extremely pissed off. It chased those young men and left them sitting in a tree all night long. Well, unfortunately, he never got his beast. And years went by and he got married. And he got 2 children. But he always would think about this beast with its cracked horn and a peach pit in its head. One day, he decided that he was going to spend his money, his little savings that he had, to just go on safari. And he took his family. His wife was very unhappy with this idea. They should have gone on a Caribbean cruise. But he went looking around for the beast. He never found it. He went back home. He came back on his own much later on in life. And he found the beast one day when he was out hunting. And he knew it because of the crack in its horn. He lifted his gun to fire when he noticed something strange about the beast as it turned and looked and recognized him. That there was a single sapling, a little green something with 2 leaves out of its head. He was so shocked that he just stood there, watched the beast walk by, and didn't fire his gun. Well, he unfortunately divorced from his wife and became a man on his own, But of course he had to pay alimony, so he kept his job. But now he spent a fair amount of each year going back into the bush looking for this beast. The one time he remembers seeing it with vivid detail is when he was sitting there watching the migration of the wildebeest, hundreds of them crossing a river, and in the middle of those was his beast. He recognized it because it had a young tree that was swaying. He watched in terror as this beast crossed the river with crocodiles all around. Would it get his? It did not. Finally, he retired. He quit his job. His children had grown up and moved into families of their own, and he was an old man with a very, very long beard, constantly thinking about the beast that got away. He bought himself a nice little hut out in the middle of the bush, just in case he would see that beast and finally take the shot. And in fact, that day came. He watched the migration of the wildebeest go past and did not see his beast. At first he thought his beast had died of natural causes, when suddenly he looked towards the direction of where the beast had come from, and he saw a tree moving through the bush. And it came out amongst the bush, this wildebeest whose head now sat like this, who looked like he must have had perpetual migraines, had a tree growing out of his head. And on that tree was a single ripe peach swaying there. The man looked at the beast and the beast looked at the man. They recognized each other. The beast stood there as if resigned, as if this was always meant to be. The man fired and killed his beast. He took his knife and cut open the beast in order to get to the meat. He wasn't a rich man. But the tree's roots had grown into every muscle of the beast. Its very roots had covered the beast's heart in a grip, an iron grip, for most of its life. The meat was useless. The man sat down next to the beast and noticed the peach. He plucked the peach from the tree and bit into it. The juices ran down his beard, and he could taste the sweet nectar that was there. And his eyes saw the golden orb and reflected how much it looked like the sun. And when he had finished, and it was just a peach pit, he suddenly realized that that was the best peach he had ever eaten. What is a peach? Whew. That's the question I want to... That's the question I want to try and engage with here. I'll try to be a little bit faster, but I think I still have time. To do so, I invite you to partake in a creative encounter with your critical mind. A quote that I carry with me always is one by Georges Louis Borges, who says, "A man sets out to draw the world. As the years go by, he peoples a space with images of provinces, kingdoms, mountains, bays, ships, islands, fishes, rooms, instruments, stars, horses, and individuals. A short time before he dies, he discovers that the patient labyrinth of lines traces the lineaments of his own face. What is a peach?" In preparation for this conversation, I tried to figure out what is humanities. And I looked up Stanford University's own definition, which I found refreshingly simple and clear for an internet troll like me. The humanities can be described as the study of how people process and document the human experience. Humans use philosophy, literature, religion, art, music, history, and language to understand and record our world. These modes of expression have become some of the subjects that traditionally fall under the humanities. Knowledge of these records of human experiences gives us the opportunity to feel a sense of connection to those who have come before, as well as our contemporaries. Sorry, one sec. So these achievements of the humanities comes through its holistic viewpoint that is at once critical and emotional, something that we forget to talk about. The rational mind dances with the irrational heart. There's nothing new to the ideas I'm proposing here. We've understood the function of humanity since the ancient Aristotle first asked the question, what is a good life? I'm just asking, what is a good peach? The importance of humanities in this regard is understood. But what is the role of the creative act? What is a creative encounter? I'd like to propose a method of considering the relationship between creative encounters and critical thought. That is the temporal disjuncture between creative encounters and critical thinking. Critical thought often begins at the point at which there is an artifact to consider. It arrives at the moment of symbolic concretizing. A peach is a peach. The word, the mental image, the artifact, they all are in agreement. It is here we can consider the peach's color, sweetness, ripeness, and so on. And the fact that the process of critical thinking can be pedantic. What? In fact, the process of critical thinking can be pedantic in its scientific inquiry. It is information gathering. It is definitive and exact, but it does not tell me what a peach is. The creative encounter happens before there is a definition, before there is a word, a completed mental picture, an artifact. An encounter must occur before the definitions are laid down. It is a transitive experience. There is a temporal disjuncture between the critical thinking and the creative encounter. Michelangelo said, every block of stone has a statue inside it. The task of the sculptor is to discover it. Not carve it, but to discover the act of living the experience with the stone. I'm going to give you an example of what that's like, because often we think that is only the space of the artist. But in fact, the purpose of artists is to bring you into a creative encounter as well. I'd like to introduce you to one of our puppets from my company. We are Ukwanda, Puppetry and Designs, and the character you're about to meet is Kawe. Damn it. Well, sorry. I'm very new to this experience, forgive me. When you look at the puppet, it is made of polystyrene, plywood, gelatine, brown paper. You can go ahead. Wood glue, aluminum, rubber bands, acrylic paint. The eyes are made out of black faceted beads. The reason they're made out of black faceted beads is because they simulate the glint one gets in the eyes, which we take as evidence for life. All of these materials are put together. The process of creation of the character is a process of encounter. Kawa is defined in the completion, but the process was there. You're looking and experiencing the puppet is a shared creative encounter that you're having now. You are, in fact, creating a living being in relation to the puppeteers and the artifact. It is a collaborative exercise. And what is happening here is that you are at once being critical and living in a creative temporal space. You're making decisions that you are agreeing with. Oh, look, he looked at me. But as you make that decision, you are also once again lost within the creative encounter. What's it doing next? It is this constant feedback loop that occurs. I had a lot more to say, but I will now cut to the final moments. What is a peach? I'll literally come to the last paragraph. What is a peach if not a creative encounter supported by critical thinking? A sweet discovery where one thought there was none. A deepening of my sense of self-awareness. It is my continual, incomplete becoming. It is a picture of my face. The peach is me. Thank you.